Hello all, it's week 14. We are almost done with this semester. Last week we talked about creative problem identifying and that being able to anticipate, pinpoint, and understand problems is sometimes just as important as creative problem solving. This week though, we're going to focus on creative problem solving. And I was going to assign a bunch of readings, some cases and sparks about creative problem solving. I had a mini lecture ready to go, and then I decided to scrap all of that. And the reason why I scrapped my week 14 class plans and ideas was that I want you to have time this week to sign up for a group for Creativity Quest 4, connect with your group members, and get started on the project. Last week, for 25 points, you were supposed to go to a shared Google Doc and post a campus-related issue or problem. I took those issues and problems and selected those that impact a broad group of students. This week, by midnight on Tuesday, April 16th, for another 25 points, you're going to go back to that Creativity Quest 4 Google Drive folder. This time, look for the Phase 2 doc. Open it up and sign up for a group to work with for Creativity Quest 4. If you miss this step and you don't sign up, you'll lose 25 points from your final Creativity Quest 4 grade, and I'll sign you up for a group to work with. If you haven't already spent some solid time with a Creativity Quest 4 assignment, I'd suggest you pause this video, find it, and do so. The assignment includes lots of helpful details. Your final deliverable will be your group's collaboratively created slide deck, in which you're going to pitch an entrepreneurial idea to address the problem or issue that your group was focused on. Along with reviewing the assignment this week as you get into groups, I'd suggest you also go back through our class readings, materials, cases, and pack discussions, specifically to identify maybe one or two tools that you can bring to your group and use as you work on Creativity Quest 4. So in this video, I'm going to talk briefly about creative problem solving with a focus on sharing ideas and tools that you can implement while working on Creativity Quest 4. We read a chapter last week by Edward Lumsdaine and Martin Binks about creative problem identification. In that book, they also have a chapter on creative problem solving. They describe the creative problem solving steps. I don't agree that there's just one problem solving model, but I'd encourage you all to lean on their approach as you connect with your team members on Wednesday after you've signed up to work with a group for Creativity Quest 4 and get started on thinking about that final deliverable, the standalone slideshow for Creativity Quest 4 that offers a recommendation for an entrepreneurial idea or approach or service or product to address the campus issue that your group is faced with. So the first step is research and discovery about or around the problem. Spec out different aspects of the challenge or the problem. Ask questions like, who does it affect? When? How? Why? To what extent? The second step is analysis and interpretation. Review the data you've gathered, information you've collected, and what you know about the problem in its context. The third step is idea generation. Lean on the brainstorming approaches we've discussed in class. If possible, meet face-to-face. If not, set up a Zoom conference or meet in some other online space to come up with a bunch of possible ideas with your group members to pursue about how to entrepreneurially address the issue. The fourth step is experimentation and refinement, where you judge your ideas and you try to hone in on one. Assess the ideas to see how feasible they are, what approaches would be required to actually launch them. Think about what it would look like if the approach was successful. And the fifth step is action plan and implementation. Lumsdaine and Banks describe two problem-solving personality types, the explorer and the detective. As you introduce yourselves to each other in your Creativity Quest 4 groups, think about what type you fall into. Explorers tend to be more value-anchored and intuitive and rely on interpersonal and emotional information. Detectives tend to be more systematic and focus on identifiable data, details, and evidence. We've also read some of Thomas Vogel's work this semester. In his book, Breakthrough Thinking, he describes 5 different creative problem-solving approaches. This should remind you of the approaches and models that we saw last week. I really like the Osborne and Parnes model because it's pretty realistic. First, you have a mess. You have to find your way through the mess. Once you have a handle on the mess, you can engage in fact-finding. You do research, you read books, you read articles, you watch videos, you watch people, you ask questions, you maybe conduct surveys and more. Then you focus in on identifying what the problem really is. Once you've done that, brainstorm, come up with a ton of different ideas to play around with. Then maybe focus in on one or two. Then move into getting people to accept the idea so you can test it, refine it, and try again. And recursivity is important here because I don't think these 5 phases happen step 1, step 2, but we go back and forth across these phases as we work. Vogel further unpacks the Osborne and Parnes model into 3 distinct moves: fact-finding, idea-finding, and solution-finding. You could take this model as you work on Creativity Quest 4 and map your work across these steps. Maybe use this figure as a tool or rubric to guide your note-taking and your group work. You have to take time to identify and define the problem, prepare an approach, gather and analyze relevant and related data, generate ideas, brainstorm, develop and nurture some of the better ideas by selecting, adding, and rethinking, and then evaluating your strongest idea to verify possible solutions. And for your final project, you decide upon and make suggestions for implementing a solution. Also this week, connect with the other people in your group. Talk about moving forward on the project, get started on the initial phases, further refining and defining the issue or problem, and doing some research around your issue or problem. Please let me know if you have any questions individually or as a group as you work on Creativity Quest 4 and the milestones that I've talked about in this brief video. Next week is week 15. It's our final week of class, and we'll talk about continuing the creativity beyond this class. There is no final exam for class, but what you're going to want to make sure to do by noon, the Wednesday of finals week, Wednesday, May 1st, is make sure that you've uploaded both of your creativity exposure write-ups and that your group has submitted its final Creativity Quest 4 work. Again, that's all due by noon on Wednesday, May 1st.